The eye. 2.91. Describe the structure and function of the eye as a receptor. Let's start by reminding ourselves exactly what we mean by a receptor. Receptors are groups of specialized cells in sense organs. Receptors detect changes in the environment, called stimuli, and they produce electrical impulses in response. Different receptors detect different stimuli. For example, receptors in the skin detect touch and temperature. Receptors in the tongue detect chemicals in food and drink. Receptors in the nose detect chemicals in the air. Receptors in the eye detect light. And receptors in the ear detect sound. When we look at somebody's eyes, this is what we see. The white part of the eyeball is called the sclera. The coloured part of the eye is called the iris. The hole at the front of the eye, which allows light to enter, is called the pupil. This is a diagram of the human eye. The pupil is the hole at the front of the eye, which allows light to enter. The pupil is surrounded by the coloured part of the eye, called the iris. Immediately behind the pupil is the lens. The lens refracts light. It bends and focuses the light on the back of the eye. The front of the eye is covered by the transparent cornea. The cornea also refracts the light, helping to bend it and focus it on the back of the eye. The lens is held in position by suspensory ligaments. And these suspensory ligaments are attached to ciliary muscles. The back of the eye is called the retina. The retina receives the light, and the retina contains receptor cells. These receptor cells generate an electrical impulse, which is carried from the eye to the brain by the optic nerve. Finally, the white part of the eyeball is the sclera. Okay, pause the video, give yourself about 10 seconds, see how many parts of the eye you can remember. What's missing? The iris. What's missing? The optic nerve. What's missing? The pupil. What's missing? The retina. What's missing? The cornea. Now, students often get confused between the cornea and the retina. So one way of remembering the differences between the two is this. The cornea covers the front of the eye. The word covers begins with the letters CO, and the word cornea begins with the same letters, CO. The retina is at the rear of the eye and it receives light. Retina begins with the letters RE, and so too do the words rear and receives. Let's look at the function of 5 parts of the eye. The pupil is the hole in the middle of the iris which lets light into the eye. The cornea is a transparent cover on the surface of the eye. It refracts the light. It bends and begins to focus it on the back of the eye. The iris. This is the coloured part of the eye which is made of muscle. The iris controls how much light enters the eye by opening and closing the pupil. The retina. The retina is located at the back of the eye. It's the retina that contains receptor cells which are sensitive to light. Light energy is transferred into electrical impulses by these receptor cells in the retina. Finally, the optic nerve carries the electrical impulses from the eye to the brain. This is an IGCSE biology question. Pause the video, give the question a go, and we'll look at the answers together in just a moment. Okay, let's look at the answers together. The question says the diagram shows a section through an eye with the iris and parts A, B, and C labelled. Name parts A, B, and C. A is the lens. B, which is at the front of the eye, is the cornea. And C, which is at the rear of the eye, is the retina. Today, we described the structure and function of the eye as a receptor. Thank you for listening.